Hello, my name is Norman Freeman. This is my my creative project for English 205, um, taken to reflect on how I did my final project this semester. I was heavily inspired by the part about Banksy and my contributions to that particular discussion board about the rescue ship that he came up with, and the fact that he used his assets that he built up as an artist to make a real difference in the world, using his art to do this, using his assets to do this, and giving people hope for a better life. And making an actual difference in people's lives, people who needed a difference, people who were in a dark place. And then that made me think about the people in our day-to-day lives that we hardly even notice as we're going to work, going to school, going out and about, and people on the other side of the world that are in dark places and need help, guidance, advice, but they don't know where to go. And I'm not just talking about people who have no homes and are living on the streets, addicted to drugs. I'm referring to them as well, but also people who are addicted to social media, or lonely. And I've also noticed how so many people have invested so much in these electronics that they spend most of their lives on. And it's not lost on me the irony that I am taking part in college almost entirely through the means of media and the internet, electronics, and then the on the news about the TikTok ban and people investing their lives into these careers in social media, and then they get toppled by the smallest thing, the simplest law change, policy change within any given platform. People have invested so much in these personas online that they've lost track of themselves in the real world and become depressed and lonely, don't know where to go or what to do. So I had several reasons for deciding on a statue made out of recyclables. The idea of the sculptures was that they are made out of materials and objects that were, when they first came out, associated with a brighter, better future, but that future was built on lies. So much was suddenly at our fingertips, but we weren't really paying attention to where we got it, how much of it would there be in a few years. The figure looks down at this little object it's holding in his hand. You might first think of a phone, but it could be anything, really. What's important is that this object, which is the source of their apparent anxiety, is also their source of greatest hope, their chance for things to get better. If it were a phone, then perhaps it could be an inspiring news story or an article that inspires them to get up and take action based on what they read. The figure on the monument is in a position as though about to get up, poised to get up from their position, but are uncertain. Something's holding them back. Or it could even be something that they wrote and are reviewing. They want to get up and share it with the world, with the people around them. And that eventually, no matter what anxieties or worries or dread are holding them back, they're going to realize the only thing they can really do to make the world better, to make their situation better, to make everything better, is to get up and do something. with it being a creative project, of course, it came from my head. It's largely a self-portrait in this regard, but really it represents a lot of people. A lot of people I know, a lot of people I don't know. It could represent you, it could represent my classmates. It could just represent somebody downtown. Which is, of course, why I put in the bit about it being able to be copied and put in multiple places so it can be seen around the world. It's not such a big thing that a lot of people have heard about it, but the way Banksy posts things on the street, you see this statue, which is honestly the main thing I've taken away from this class, is that sense of initiative, the urgency, that you can't just expect things to happen on their own, you have to go make them happen. There's a number of assignments and readings from the course that were sources of inspiration in this regard. For example, in the book The Things They Carried, there were in The Things They Carried, for instance, about the troops in Vietnam who carried objects that gave them hope. Not just the supplies they needed for the missions, for their patrols, for keeping themselves alive in the most rudimentary sense. They also brought personal items, and items of their own preference. Things that gave them hope individually. Lieutenant Cross, for instance, carried photos. And when thinking about that, in the midst of so much stress, of the fighting, and losing one of his men, almost drove him to despair. He just got rid of the source of despair. He didn't let it get the best of him. Like one of and Ted Lavender, who of course carried way too much and let his worries and his fears literally weigh him down to the point of getting him killed. But in the end, Lieutenant Cross had to give himself hope to carry on, to take care of his men, and to get through it all. And then, of course, there was the aid blankets that were displayed in Washington, D.C. People who were dying of AIDS, who used that project as an opportunity to share their stories with the world, so that others who were suffering from that, so that those who suffered as they did would not fall prey to despair. Instead of falling prey to despair, they shared their stories. And this basic sense of hope is what allows people to cling to. In this sense of hope, while it is often the way people are manipulated and lose everything, is also what drives them to pursue what is best for them and for the people that matter to them and to the world around them. Which is something that I try to emphasize with the message around the monument. That while you must be careful, you must not give up. Both of those principles are important to remember. No matter what you believe in, we all live in one world, and it's all we've got as far as we know. So we best not let it go to waste. We need to take care of it. And to do that, we need to take care of each other. And that is the idea behind this monument idea.